Great experiences build great leaders. Great leaders build great teams. This is Building Great Sales Teams.
All right, guys, welcome back to Building Great Sales Teams. I've got an amazing one for you guys today. It's going to be entertaining to say the least. I've got my man, David Taggart, on the podcast today. He's the CEO at A5 Roofing. He's the host of Roofing Underground podcast. And as you guys can see, he's a freaking ball of fun. I love following him on social media because he posts stuff like this. He's the host of the Roofing Underground podcast, sales and development coach. He's an expert in door-to-door and processes. He did 1 million in his first year of door-to-door with zero experience, grew it to 2 million, and he's on track to hit 5.5 million by the end of the year. David Taggart, aka the Roof Poppy, welcome to the show, brother.
What's up, guys? What's going on, man? Doug, I am honored to be here. I've had about 5 conversations about you in the last week, no lie. So I'm genuinely thrilled that I have the opportunity to sit here and jam out with you today.
Man, I love it. I appreciate it. Yeah, I saw Tom Bigley was just on your podcast.
Yeah, Tom and I had a very, very awesome conversation. It was so one of the first things I did when I got into Apex, side note, I got an accountability partner. I asked for an accountability partner to help me through BYM. And this guy named Matt commented on the post and he was like, bro, I got you. And me and Matt became very good friends since then. And Matt has been really trying to get me to connect with Tom for probably about a month and a half. And I was like, Tom, let's just, film up. I didn't even know he had scheduled for a podcast, and much less I didn't know that he had to do the live one. I was like, well, fuck, we'll get to know each other. A great connection, dude. So Tom, had Tom on the show. Tom told me a lot about the stuff that y'all have working together. I was very, very, very impressed. And I think maybe some cool stuff will come from it. We don't know.
Yeah, Tom and Matt are putting together something special, and I'm honored that they're involving me in it as well as the sales arm of the whole thing. So I'm excited for that. All right, brother. So my first impression of you is I was like, man, this dude talks a lot of shit. But there's something raw and real about the guy. You don't want to change the channel. You know what I'm saying? And I've said this from the first time that we had an exchange. I was like, dude, this guy belongs on a stage and he doesn't even know it yet. Where did that rawness come from?
So I guess I take it from a lot of my influence, right? The people that I feel like have helped give me my voice, the people that have helped me find the shit that I have that's relevant, that's qualified to talk. I think is number one is the most important thing is I'm not going to sit here and blow smoke up people's ass about things that I haven't accomplished or companies I haven't built or accolades that I haven't achieved, because I'm just wasting my fucking time and I'm wasting everybody else's time. And I have a really strong belief that there's so much in today's age, right, with social media and how everybody you see the highlight reel, right? Is what you see on social media. That's what your experience with other members in society is the shit that they choose to intentionally show you. And I think that also that makes it very valuable when you have an experience or you have an opportunity to connect with somebody that's not going to sugarcoat it, that is going to tell you, hey, me and my wife just got in a fucking argument last night about some shit. You know what I mean? Like those kinds of exchanges, when you can exchange intimacy or vulnerability with each other, that's how you develop rapport. That's building fucking relationships. And it's not always pretty. The conversation sometimes isn't always nice. But there's some things that need to be had. And I think that I found my ability to share my perspective and to share my thoughts. I think a lot of it does come from the people that have influenced me, like Andy Frisella, Andy Elliott, Ed Milet. I started getting into podcasts and speakers when I joined the Arte Accelerator many years ago. And that was my glimpse into people that were really doing shit with their lives, they all spoke and felt, were passionate about things, and a lot of them was their belief system. And so that's really, I think, really the only thing that separates me from a lot of other people, man, is I'm just vocal about my beliefs. Like that's pretty much it. A lot of people, I think, are just kind of afraid to have that conversation.
Yeah, there is a no filter to it, pretty much. You know what I'm saying? And I love it because we all like to say we have no filter and that we're raw and we keep it real and all that kind of stuff. But even me, like I do put a lot of the losses on social media, right? But I like to write. You know what I'm saying? So I'll put it together in what I feel like is the most eloquent way I can with bad spelling and bad grammar. But at the end of the day, I feel like the message gets across, but still I put thought into it and I'm like taking my time with it and everything. And I think you lose some of the rawness from that, you know what I'm saying? And so when you talk about your influences, it makes a lot of sense because those guys are just in your face. They're out there and they're real with it. And you feel like they're not putting a filter. They're not putting stuff through a filter. You know what I'm saying? And so I think I agree with you.
I don't. I think when you, I think when you put things through a filter too much, it loses number one, the connectivity, right? The ability for your content to resound with other people, which is why I feel like those podcast episodes, like this right now, I feel like this conversation is so much more powerful to so many more people because they know this is not scripted. This wasn't something that we, I don't have no idea what we're going to fucking talk about, but you're just going to get the same type of Dave no matter what. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah, I love it, brother. All right, so let's go back a little bit. I feel like you've had a whole life before this life. You know what I'm saying? Because you're saying you've only been in roofing for like 3 years. You've got a lot more life experience than that just from having conversations with you. So take us back to, maybe coming right out of high school. What did life look like for you?
Oh, let's see. Out of high school, I had nothing going on, man. For real, I was, kind of on my own at an early age. I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. I was, I ended up, being just a fucking normal 18-year-old, right? And having problems at home, and I had a part-time job at the mall, like I choose. And then I had, I got kicked out, right? Like a week after my 18th birthday, because I'm grown now and I can, behave how I want. So I ended up getting kicked out after my 18th birthday, and I had to get a job and in a place to live, right? And because the mall wasn't going to cut it anymore. And so I went from couch to couch. This is, kind of wrap up my 18 years. I went from couch to couch for about 2 nights until I found an apartment that would lease me a 1-bedroom apartment for $49 deposit. And the next day I borrowed a 10-speed mountain bike from my then girlfriend's neighbor's parents, right? Borrowed a mountain bike and got a job at a Honda dealership selling cars. And it was like, that was for me where I walked into sales for the first time and I was like, this isn't bad, this isn't bad. But I've always been in construction. As much as I like sales and as much as I've been involved in selling myself, like even as an electrician, I had to do a lot of stuff. Every time you go to try to get a better job, you interview, which means you have to have more skills, more experience. You have to be able to speak to the interviewer and build value and sell yourself at the interview. And so being in construction, you were always looking for the higher paying something. I mean, that's just kind of the way that blue collar labor works. And so I ended up, becoming an electrician after a long time. Did that job took me up to Alaska, and in the damn winter time, I would work as an electrician. In the summertime, I would work as a wildland firefighter on a Type 2 IA crew up there, flying around in helicopters, carrying chainsaws and stuff. That was pretty awesome.
Shit, badass.
And yeah, man.
I did not know that.
That was like in my early 20s, man.
I just got done reading. I just got done reading Never Finished, and so
Never Finished.
that's a lot of what David Goggins did. Was he was a smoke jumper, So he talks about that a lot. So
Yeah, he's a smoke jumper. So those guys are like 2 levels up above where I was. You know, those are pretty
yeah.
much most of those guys are like they come from prior service military, or they're like airborne certified or qualified or whatever. And a lot of those dudes, my experience with smoke jumpers were, we were the silent professionals in the woods with chainsaws and yellow Nomex jackets on, and hard hats and all the protective equipment, and we were busting our asses and running around with chainsaws and beards and mouths full of dip, and we were just
Yeah.
being bad motherfuckers, right? And on the other side of the fire, through the trees, running through the forest in camo cargo pants with no shirt on, slinging drip torch fuel up into the trees, catching the trees on fire, is the fucking smoke jumper trying to burn that section of forest, right? Wearing AC/DC in his earbuds and a mouthful of big league chew, no shirt on, running through the woods, throwing fuel and burning fire everywhere. Those are smoke jumpers.
The Rambo
right?
of firefighters.
They are, dude, they don't give a fuck about personal safety. All they care about is fighting some fire, man. Those guys are nuts.
That's awesome. I love it. So you get done firefighting. At what point do you come back home and start back in the trades?
Oh, dude. Went back into the trades probably in about 2014. 2013, 2014. At about 2017, I realized that I wanted to kind of be in business for myself, right? I wasn't getting anywhere fast climbing this damn ladder for the last 10 years, being a card carrying electrician. The money that I wanted to make wasn't there unless you were gone for 30 days on an oil rig somewhere as an electrical tech, right? So getting into something that I also loved, which was at that time remodeling houses. I had done, pretty much everything under the sun in construction. I started a business and I ran it from robbing Peter to pay Paul, not my customers, but literally I would, get my water shut off one week and next week they would shut off my damn, my credit card, right? Like that kind of shit. And I did that for about 2 years, and I ran this business into absolute nothing. And I realized that I didn't know what I was doing. And I was probably better at working for somebody than working for myself, doing this, remodeling and construction. So I got a job working for a commercial general contractor. And he's the guy that introduced me to personal development, which personal development got me into roofing sales, and roofing sales has gotten me fucking here. So it has been a long 20, I'm 37 right now. So 14, 20, like 28-year love affair with fucking construction, man.
That's crazy. We're the exact same age. I just turned 37 a couple weeks ago.
Nice, man. Happy birthday. Me too. I turned 37 in February, so it was like 8 weeks ago, but maybe 12 or
Very
20.
cool.
I don't fucking know, something like that.
Yeah, and we're both in San Antonio. We got to meet up soon, man. We got to get lunch or something. But anyways, back to your story. So one of the things I always ask my guests, because there's always this pivot point at which they go from being a entrepreneur or a high level producer for another business owner to starting their own business. You know what I'm saying? And I always want to find out, like, okay, where did that maybe previous business owner go wrong, or was that just inevitable? Like, how did they lose you essentially? You know what I'm saying? Because, and Ed Milet talks about this a lot. You've got to be able to fit your key players' dreams inside of your dream, right? And so I always want to kind of give that value for my listeners and let them know, hey, this is this was a key player, and now he owns his own business. Is that just the natural progression of things, or can you keep those key players in your business?
I think there's two types of people if we're looking at, business, right? And we're looking at somebody to start a company that sells a product or service, call it whatever fuck you want. There are people that need to own the business, and there are people that need to work in the business. For the sake of time, we'll call them entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs. I, for a long time, wanted to be the entrepreneur. I'm not employable, meaning I don't play well with others all the time. I'm very opinionated. If the SOP sucks, I want to change it to make it more efficient. And there's some things that you cannot do unless you're the owner of a company, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there are the intrapreneurs. The intrapreneurs are the type 2 and type 3 employees that think outside of the box. You know, they need some sort of core direction, maybe micromanagement, leadership skills, yes or no, but these are the gears inside of the machine that make the machine produce the result, right? And these intrapreneurs can be, number one, I found as an intrapreneur, it was very important for me to be undeniably good at my job. So that way,
Mm-hmm.
when I walked up to somebody and I said I wanted a raise, it was not a question. You know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of intrapreneurs have that process fucked up. They try to ask for a raise and then they say, in exchange, I will do A, B. You walked into my office and said, hey, I'll do more work if you pay me more. I'm probably going to say, okay, well, show me that you can first, because fuck off, you know. But if you
Yeah.
walked into my office and said, hey, I don't know if you last 6 weeks your phone hadn't rang because I've had all the appointments running through me and I've scheduled them all for you. I've managed all these appointments, da da da. I'd be like, I haven't been paying you that. No, you haven't been paying me that. Well, shit, we need to have a conversation. You know,
Mm-hmm.
there's two different ways to approach that, just like there's two different types of people. I think the natural progression of things just kind of led me to be where I've always wanted to be, which is in the ability to make key critical decisions without having a fucking permission. But
Mm-hmm.
there's so much more that I've learned. And let me say this: I made an entrepreneur and a sales guy in first year of sales than I have my first year of business ownership. You know what I mean? Like, I made my life was way easier as a fucking salesperson. I didn't have no liability. I didn't give, if the weather was 18% chance of rain, I didn't give a single shit, you know. I would still look out for the good of my company, but it didn't. $130,000 of drywall damage did not sit on my mind as a salesperson the same way it does now as a business owner. You know, and so the hats are different, the functions are different, and I think there is a point at which somebody decides to take the leap from being an intrapreneur and an entrepreneur. And I think it has a lot more to do with the person's confidence as opposed to what triggered that event or triggered
Mm-hmm.
that. It could have been anything, right? For me, for me, it was a conversation that was had and things were being renegotiated, right? And I literally walked from a job and I needed a fucking job, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I I quit that way, and I remember coming home to Jackie and I remember saying, you know, well, she actually came to pick me up at the office. I asked her to come pick me and all my stuff up, and it was I just needed a job. You know, I'm going to be fucking honest with you. I didn't want to go work for anybody else. I didn't know anybody else up there in
Yeah.
Fort Worth was. And now the reason why I quit was amicable. We actually, you know, Kimba and Robbie, I love Kimba and Robbie, and I've never really talked about this before, fucking ever.
Mm-hmm.
But me and Kimba and Robbie did not have a bad split, you know, a bad breakup. We
Mm-hmm.
negotiated something like fucking grown-ups, and we can come to an agreement. And that's where
Mm-hmm.
we were like, hey, listen, it's probably going to be hard for us to move forward if we can't fucking come to an agreement. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Absolutely. So I'll just be a salesperson. And then I didn't want to be a salesperson because I realized I didn't have any fucking control over the way that
Yeah.
things were done or things were being done. And so, you know, there's the fucking story. I decided,
Yeah.
you know, a week after coming home, that I was just going to open up a fucking business. Why not? And it was because I'd had a bunch of conversations where people were just and it helped.
I love it, man. I mean, so many people need
So
there to be
there's
a,
all the tea.
yeah. So I was gonna say so many people need there to be a drama behind the story, but sometimes it's just two adults work shit out, and it didn't work out. You know, like with me and my ex partner, we came to an impasse on what we wanted to do in solar, and we were like, hey, I guess this is it because you want to do that, I want to do this. 12 years, it was a good
Simple.
run, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
simple. I have the question. A lot of times people will give me the question like, did you start a business because you saw how much money? No, I saw how little money some of these business owners were actually making. Like that's how high up in the fucking chain I was. And I was
Mhm,
very vocal, and I have always been very vocal. I just said this
mhm.
shit this morning. I said, fuck this, I quit. I'm gonna go work for somebody else. Right. I literally just said that shit this morning. And because oh man, dude, when you're the highest fucking guy on the totem pole, your neck is
Yeah,
always in the guillotine, bro. It's
yeah.
always right there. And this shit is stressful, son. This shit is
Dude,
stressful.
it's funny because I went from a negative profit margin last year, losing hundreds of thousands of dollars, to this year I'm looking at 60 to 65%. I have a much smaller team, you know what I'm saying? So I'm basically going in reverse, right, in terms of how many people I have.
Right.
And
Yeah.
man, it's just like a big weight lifted, because I have my virtual team, and then I have my local guy, and it's like, dude, I mean, I did that shit for 12 years, and you're right. You're 100% right. It
Mhm.
was like 10% net some years, you know what I'm saying? And we're doing 5 million. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that,
What the
that shit's
fuck?
real. Everything
What are
you
we
just
doing this
talked about
for?
is
Yeah.
real. You know what I'm saying? Like, so speaking
100%,
of
dude.
that, one of the stories I heard you tell when I was on your podcast a couple weeks ago was about the name of your roofing company. Can you walk us through that real quick? Because
Mhm.
I love that story.
Okay, so check it out. When I was young and broke and you know, um, $200 in my bank account was like a big deal. You know, I had always thought that the Audi A5 was a beautiful car, right? And specifically the generation, the B8.5, that face, that style, brand new off the lot, it was like $60,000 or something. It's real expensive back then in 2013, 2012. And it was just a beautiful car. And I thought, man, this is the kind of vehicle that successful, handsome dudes that just got their shit together, like, these bachelor types, like this is what they're fucking driving, bro. And that's the kind of car I wanted. When I thought, when I was successful, that's what, boom, that was the goal, right?
Hmm.
The A5 for me. And 6 months into roofing sales, I I had enough money to buy one, right? Like, so we're just gonna I worked my ass off, right?
Yeah.
So, albeit I go and I find one, and it is an S line 2-door, 2.0 liter turbo. It's a all-wheel drive, so it's the Quattro. It's black on black on black. Um, it's got the Bang& Olufsen sounds, all the shit that I remember seeing in the damn, and I'm like, oh, this car, right? And I buy the fucking car. And I buy the car. I think I'm hot shit. I'm having fun. I'm stepping into my fucking life as the roof poppy, right? As my
Yeah.
Instagram handle, which I got from Andrew. Um, but so I'm
Nunez
like become this
or Hernandez?
Hernandez,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you
Fucking
remember
love that
his Instagram. You'd be the real roof pop, and then he just kind of like gave it to me years ago. Um,
dude.
but so yeah, I was not the first one. Sorry to fucking burst y'all's bubble. Anyhow, so I buy the A5, and goddamn funny story. Uh, I was working for Andrew, and Andrew's truck, the F-250 that I had, the one in that picture in front of his house, was in the shop, and I had to drive my car. And Andrew and I were talking in the group chat about something, and he was like, "Are you gonna go sell roofs in your Audi?" And I was like, "I could fucking sell roofs in anything, right? Like, you got me fucked up." And so I did. It worked. I didn't have a single problem selling it. And then Andrew made the joke. No bullshit. Andrew made the joke in like 2020 or 2021, 2020. Um, you're and start a roofing company, and what are you going to call it? A5 Roofing, right? And it was a joke. And I didn't think not a single thing about that, bro, for 2 years. It never once popped into my head But when I was sitting down with a piece of paper, I had a fucking water bill from the city of Fort Worth upside down on my coffee table, and my wife and I were thinking about what we wanted in October of 2021. We were thinking, what do we want to call our roofing company? And I started thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it. And then I remembered, what are you going to call it? A5 Roofing. And I looked over at Jackie, and she was like, I told her, and she was like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm hooked yet or not. I went and took my Toyota to a dealer, or my Audi to a dealership, and I traded it in for a two-wheel drive F-150, and that became my first company truck.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized the Audi, my A5, was just the fucking milestone, dude. It wasn't the goal. It was the goal that became a milestone, and I used it to invest back into what I have today. And so just kind of in the spirit of just a subtle fuck you to anybody that thinks you can't do something, right? Or that you're not qualified, or even if it's to yourself. I mean, we decided to name the business Everything because we felt like using what you thought was the end as a way to catapult yourself into the fucking beginning of something else, I feel like is something, a story, a brand story that a lot of people can identify with, and they can kind of be like, yeah, you're right, dude. You know, fuck you to everybody that said we couldn't do this or that I want or be able. And that's how we kind of landed with the name A5, man. It came from the car. So
I love it. I love it so much. And that's
yeah.
that's even an even better version than I got when I was on your podcast. So I love it so much. It's funny you say
That's the
that.
real one. I didn't.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because in 2015 I had a F-250 Lariat, like jacked up 35s, the whole deal. I had no business having this truck. I was not in construction. I went to the beach a lot. You know what I'm saying? 4x4, and
Yeah.
it was the one that had the eco diesel that you had to put in it like
Okay.
every freaking 1,500 miles. That shit was annoying as hell. But I was traveling all over the state. I had something like a $2,500 a month gas bill. It was just stupid. And then business went south, and I'm looking at this $1,000 a month payment. I'm looking at this $2,500 a month gas bill, and I end up getting a what did Ryan? What did I drive? It was it a Ford? No. Oh, an Impala, a Chevy Impala. I ended up driving a Chevy Impala for 2 years. And then when I did get a truck again, I finally got an F-150. But just like you were saying, like that was the pinnacle. That was my dream truck. I thought that was it. That was the end. I had
Yeah.
made it. And it turns out that my business went south
Mhm.
right after I got that truck. And I had to trade it
I
in for
had
something more
I had a
reasonable.
conversation with somebody the other day. Oh, man, my bad. I had a conversation with somebody the other day, and we were talking about entrepreneurship and relating it to a movie, right? And a weird conversation. So the dude says that his journey through entrepreneurship reminds him a lot of Lone Survivor, the movie Lone Survivor. And I was like, all right, that's pretty grim, like we're talking about Mark Wahlberg and all these dudes getting shit up on a mountain and stuff. And he said, no, he said, what I mean was you started off with the best of intentions, and as you start climbing the mountain, you see a bunch of peaks. It's just one plateau after another until all of a sudden terrible shit happens, and then you're running down there, and eventually you back up the hill and you just start this journey all over. And I was like, brother, you might be doing something wrong. Like there may be something missing from your business if your whole movie is running downhill getting shot at, that's everything. But I thought it was a good analogy. So I definitely understand like life in plateaus, right? In a series of plateaus and peaks. And when you think you're at the top of it, a lot of times you're not. It's just at the top of what you could see from where you were.
Yeah. No, that makes a ton of sense, and I love that analogy. And so, speaking of that, you guys are basically almost tripling your business this year. And when outside looking in, you had posted, I think you were talking about sales coaches and stuff like that, and you had posted some of your sales SOPs, your scripts and stuff like that. And then it made sense to me. Okay, this, looking back, it's like, okay, that makes sense. Why David is going to 5.5 million already, only being 3 years in the business, is because he's actually writing shit down. You know what I'm saying? What are some other things that you feel like are catapulting y'all to that point?
Man, so we're here's what I think. I think that we have a really good idea of what the people inside of the business are qualified to do and what we're not qualified to do. I am not a good finance guy. I am great at marketing and branding, right? I am good at getting eyes and ears, and I'm so good at teaching and breaking things down. I am not a guy. This is the weirdest shit in the world. I hate having to operate under a system and a process because it goes against everything in my spirit, right? That wants to be the fucking Mustang out in the field, running through the damn, running up against the ridge and fucking cowboys chasing me and shit. Like, no, that's what I want to be, right? That's like my spirit animal. But I am not productive in that area. And so I have to have like guidelines and regiments and things like that. Doesn't mean I'm good at sticking to them all the time. It just means that I understand some avenues of my life. I need these fucking steps and processes. And I think that I've heard enough successful business owners say you need SOPs and processes and systems inside business to not think that they're all stupid. Like, not all these guys that are doing tens and hundreds of millions of dollars in business, and they're all saying, hey, get a CRM, develop an SOP. I literally had somebody tell me, write down step 1, I go to look for a neighborhood with hail damage. Step 2, here's how I find doors to knock on with hail damage, right?
How to
And
select turf.
I created a fucking SOP. Now that you have it all written down, then you have it all written down, then you can teach it to somebody. And you can teach it to 5, 6, 7, 8 people, and they're all doing the same thing, which means the process that you move their jobs through the queue or through the workflow, it's all identical. And at that point, if the process is identical and the system is identical, it's teachable and repeatable. Eventually, we're no longer managing people and we're managing a process, right?
Hallelujah.
When we're with 5,
Hallelujah.
bro, when I've got 5 or 6 sales guys, I'm managing people right now. With 7 salespeople, I am fucking counseling and managing and motivating and coaching people. When I get to 30 or 40 salespeople, I better be managing a fucking process at that point. You know what I mean? There better be 4 other people that my sales staff can call with questions before my name ever comes up in a conversation. That's where we're headed. And I know in order to have that, I have to have a broken down system and process that is teachable, trainable, retainable. So.
Sorry, I think you cut out for a minute there. I wasn't sure if you were done or if you just cut out. But no, I mean you're preaching to the choir here. That's why I said
It's
hallelujah.
a little lag. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
Yeah.
When I first got started, and I took over for the previous owner. He was 200 grand in deep, and the first thing I said to myself is, I don't want to deal with these salespeople. So like immediately, right away, because the ones I had initially were terrible, and I was like, how do I? Because the first thing I did was went out and knocked doors for 90 days, right, and figured out, okay, this is how we need to do this. I feel like I was successful. I was already the top salesperson, only 90 days in. These guys have been doing this for years, right? And so I was like, I need to write this down. So I wrote shit down. I said, hey, do this. And I handed it to them. You know what I'm saying? And every time they came to me with some bullshit, I pointed back to the script. I pointed back to how to select turf. I pointed back to how to train a new trainee. You know what I'm saying? And I said, did you do that? Step by step, exactly the way, and that's how I started building those systems. I didn't know I was doing it at the time. I didn't know what an SOP was. I was just like, I can't do this all day because it takes everything out of you. Talking to a salesperson for an hour about their life and everything they've been through and how everything's going to change by working with your company, and then them quitting the next day freaking kills you. You know what I'm saying? And so at some point, you've got to put the system in place, let them run the plays. And then if they show you something, you know what I'm saying? Then you can invest a little. They show you something a little more, you can invest a little more. It's just you only have so much to give as the business owner and the visionary in the company. And then yeah, you're 100% right. Having those levels of management in between is massive at that point. So I'm excited to see where you guys take this, because you already, from an early stage, I would say, already have the right mindset. You know, I have clients doing 10 million plus that haven't done some of the things you've done already. You know what I'm saying? Inside of home services. So trust me when I say you're ahead of the game, brother.
Yeah.
So I know you've got some
Nice. That's
aspirations
good.
to do
That's good to
some.
know, man. That's just kind of confirmation for me.
Absolutely. I know you got some aspirations to do some other things too. Is, you know, and I keep saying this and I keep saying it, and you haven't said no, you don't belong on a stage. Are you working towards a stage someday? Is that something you want to do?
Is hard to kind of follow that one there. I don't know if it's my connection or not, but what I heard you say was, is there any aspirations to speak?
All right, I think you did we lose him completely? There you go. You're back. All right. Yeah. Is there
No,
any
I'm here.
aspirations to speak on stage someday?
Oh, I kind of have a weird love-hate thing with that, right? So we did RoofCon in 2021. I was on a guest panel at RoofCon in Orlando in 2021. Got to do some speaking there. I have the opportunity next week. I'm actually going to be with a roof company in Houston, doing a speaking event there. And then we have the TRCO organization that we're working on, bringing in more influential people. We had last year a couple of guys from Apex. We had Jensen. We were going to have Chuck Thawk in November of last year, and haven't had a whole lot of time to be honest with you, to a whole lot of time and energy to put into that, but that's a fucking excuse. So I have to hold myself accountable for that and just actually do the shit. But
Mhm.
uh, it's difficult. So to answer your question, do I have aspirations to speak on stage? I could care less if I don't. It's all fine with me, right? But if I do, here's the thing: I don't. I gotta pick and choose, because I'm not gonna go stand on a stage if somebody wants me to plug their product and I don't believe in their product, or I don't align with their goals or their vision. So it's
Yeah.
very hard for me to say, what stage do you want to speak on? You know,
Mhm.
I like this one, because this one doesn't come with any strings. This one is an honest to God conversation between two people that millions of people without paying $700 can fucking hear, and they can listen and they
Mhm.
can learn from. So that's kind of how I feel about the stage thing, man. It all
Yeah.
depends.
No, I can definitely understand that. And that kind of leads into my next question, which is, you know, you're running a rapidly scaling business. You know, you're kicking ass on the podcast. Enjoy it a lot. And then you also want to do sales and development coaching. You know, you mentioned that as well. So that was going to be kind of my lead into that was, do you feel like you can handle all three of those things at once, or is this more of a staged, you know, once you get some key players in place, you can step into those things?
Yeah, so here's the God's honest truth about sales and development coaching. I probably take 2 to 4 phone calls a day from other roofing contractors or salespeople. That is,
Mhm.
hey Dave, can I? One of my I hear people in business bitch about this all the time. They say they get a DM where someone says, "Hey, can I pick your brain?" Right? And
Mhm.
then they want to ask them some questions and da 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 da. And I understand when you're Andy fucking Frizella, that can be very hard to find that time. But I'm still Dave Taggart right now, so my response to them is typically my phone number. Call me.
Mhm.
What's your question, I am absolutely known. One of the things that a lot of people in my industry know me for is the ability to be able to connect with and to ask questions and to get advice and to get guidance. And I've had hour-long phone calls and Zoom calls with other people's sales teams. I've gone to other roofing contractors and have shown their sales guys the process that I came up with to manage my sales and to how to do my introduction and the things that I've developed. And I've done it for absolutely fucking free, because it's not, it's not the money that I'm looking at. I mean, that's not what I'm looking for here. It's not the goal is the money. The money is a byproduct of the goal, and the goal is to create impact. So I would love to focus my time and my energy on helping and consulting with other contractors and sales teams, and not have to manage a roofing company and not have to, do all these other things. But I think it would I'd always try to find a way to make it free. If I could just be honest, if I could do it for free, I'm fucking doing it for free, man.
No, I love that. It makes a lot of sense, because before I went to consulting full time, and obviously now I can't do it for free because I don't have the main thing anymore, right? Before I did that, though, I spent 2 years in Apex, in RBO, in these other groups. And I took every DM, every call, every Zoom. I've got them all, what I'm saying, that I can go back and reference and go back to. And it's funny because I have clients now that I talked to 2 years ago when I was just putting together my process and my systems and my philosophies and everything. I was just recording, putting all that together. And I found myself with those people saying the same things over and over again. And that created the systems that I have now for building great sales teams, And I think what ends up happening without you knowing it is you end up building something incredibly valuable that you can offer at a reasonable rate, you know what I'm saying? Or even free someday with like sponsorships and stuff like that. Or people that want the people that you're helping, there's people that want them and can advertise to them through your product or whatever the case is. But, in the meantime, as long as your roofing company is growing and you're still passionate about that, I know what it feels like to be able to help someone and not need anything back from them. You know what I'm saying? And I still try to do it as much as possible as I can today, because
the cool part.
Yeah, we're just delayed a little bit.
Yeah, just a little delay there. I was sorry, man. I was gonna say the cool part about being a business owner and in roofing is I have an opportunity to coach and develop salespeople inside of my own organization, right? And while it's sometimes it's different, right? Because this is your business and this is your job. The people that get to come get, like I call it couch time. They get to come to the masterminds or they get to come to the speaking events and they get to listen to you. They're not your employees. Those people listen a little bit more, right? They are a little bit more intently, especially if they had to pay to go to that thing. I've come to find out those people will listen and take your advice more wholeheartedly than sometimes your own salespeople will. But it's those interactions, they're just different, right? They're different because my sales guys, most of them are here because number one, the culture, and number two, the commission, right? They can make money and they can make good money in a great fucking environment. And that's why they're here, right? But people that aren't coming to you for the commission, they're coming to you for education or guidance. They're after something just a little bit different. It's just a little fucking different, man. And those opportunities are great. And I'd love to have my day and my schedule filled with all those opportunities, but got bills to pay. So
Absolutely, brother. So what's next for A5 Roofing and the impact that you're making right now? What are you excited about?
Well, we're gonna focus on improving our system and process. Number one, we're ready to make another W-2 hire, so we're going to be investing in somebody in the business, so that way we can improve part of our process and the efficiency. That way I can focus more on recruiting and training, right? Which is really what we're in for. Okay, we have a good process. We have people that can manage this process. We've been doing it for almost 2 years. We're making the changes necessary. Now we can start focusing here in about 6 months. We'll be ready to start bringing in a bunch of new hires, a bunch of new recruits, and then getting them in the flow of the system and process. So I'd say what's next is probably 14 mil, in 2024. We'll say 12, and just a gang of more responsibilities, and a lot more people that we can hopefully impact and help change their lives. So that's what's next for us. We're just going to do what is Ed calls it, the power of one more. We're just going to do more. We're going to do the same shit we're doing today. We're just going to do more of it.
I love it, man, because it's real, and basically the answer is we're going to keep running the play. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to keep scaling, but at the same time, we don't have this just insane, stupid, like ridiculous goal in mind. It's like we're going to keep running the play, and we're going to do it right. What is the position you're going to be hiring for, just in case they're listening right now, that hire is listening?
Yeah. So we're going to be looking for a remote worker. Number one, it does not have to be in person. It's always a plus if this person is either in San Antonio, Austin, or Fort Worth. That way they could work with our team. But this person is basically going to be moving things through the production workflow from the point a contract is signed to the time that a roof is paid, a job is completed, all construction is complete. There's an operational process that has to be managed for different check marks that are required to be fulfilled in order to move that job into the next most appropriate category. And so somebody that can have the time and diligence to manage that process while the other pillars of our administration focus on those things is going to free up. We're buying back our time. So we're going to need somebody that's familiar with CRMs. They're familiar with documents, construction photographs, and at least have they don't have to have any experience doing this. That's the beautiful thing. All this stuff can be taught in the matter of, 20 hours. If I can show you how to do it one time, you just do the exact same thing,
right?
4 hours a day or whatever it takes. And so that's also the beautiful thing. We're looking at paying somebody basically on a salary base. And so that would be, if you get all of your week's work done in 3 days, then fucking take off. You got a 4-day weekend. You know what I mean? I'm still paying you the same no matter what. So that's the beautiful thing, I think, about what COVID taught us. A lot of us people that were paying attention was that we didn't need the office to be efficient. Right. The office was just a nice place to go if you had zero accountability. But if you can hold yourself accountable for doing the work, we can do a bunch of work right here.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. All right. So if you want to have a conversation with Dave or want to apply for that position, where do they reach out to you at?
At the Roof Poppy on Instagram is the easiest one. The Roof Poppy on Instagram. Facebook is David Taggart. Just get a hold of me there. You can also find at A5 Roofing. That'll take you there. There is which one is that? Is that mine? Where'd that green shingle roof come from? What the hell is that? I was like, when did I post that? What is that?
You already got somebody managing your social media?
No, what the hell?
Oh, that looks like a
somebody tagged me. Okay.
Somebody tagged you. Okay.
He must have tagged me in that roof. Okay, that's there. I see you were in tagged. I got you. Yeah, so there's my Instagram right there. There's me on a roof in some high tops. That's pretty cool. But you can find me on Instagram at the Roof Poppy. Facebook is at David Taggart or Roofing Underground. Instagram and Facebook at A5 Roof for there's my girls. At A5 Roof for Instagram, YouTube. If you're looking to connect with me because you need your roof looked at, give me a call.
Hell yeah. All right, brother. Well, I appreciate you so much for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure. Love all the storytelling and everything that you've brought, all the value you've brought. Thank you so much.
Nice, man. I appreciate you inviting me on the show, Doug. I had a great time.
All right, let's get building. Oh, okay. Thinking about automating much of that job also. Automation's helped us grow tremendously. Who's that from? That sounds like Tom Bigley. He wants to automate everything.
Yeah, that's he's not wrong. He's not wrong at all for that. I think automating, that's James Emerson. Yeah, 100%.
Oh, okay, yeah.
James Emerson, fire advice right there. The more I can automate, the less shit I actually have to do myself, and the more time I have to do the things that I want to do. So that's 100% the direction that we're headed. Absolutely.
Hell yeah, brother. All right. We'll see you guys next time. Appreciate you guys. Y'all have a good one.
Thanks, bro.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Building Great Sales Teams podcast. We really do appreciate it. As you know, we believe that great leaders build great teams. How do you become a great leader? You learn from the greats. Join us at the $1 Million Mastermind put on by Ryan Stewman in Frisco, Texas, and learn everything that you need to learn to be that great leader. The link will be in the description below. As always, we ask that you like, share, and subscribe wherever you consume podcasts so you can stay up to date with the Building Great Sales Teams podcast. Let's get building.